Hello. Hello. Yay, I'm live. Okay. Whew. All right. Welcome to another session of me emotionally freaking out intentionally. I intentionally start a live video to try to get my emotional brain to freak out so that I can keep training. I know that I'm not going to be harmed in any way. So I do these videos over and over to keep challenging my social anxiety. And okay. So give me 1 second. I'm just gonna really sink into myself right now. I'm going to let go of any script that I may have had in my brain. And I'm just gonna connect with the aliveness of this one moment. I'm going to connect here. I feel the desire for I don't even have the right words. I feel the desire to put on a good show. I feel the desire to look good and avoid looking bad. Uh, so, for the first third of these videos, usually, it's just me being with all the emotions of stretching my emotional self past its comfort zone. And it's still a workout every single time I'm on video. It's been 3 years, but at least I'm not completely frozen now. So, coming back to here. I am an emotional immortal, which means as long as my physical body is safe, that no matter how I feel, no emotion is really going to be able to harm me in any way. It can feel like I am dying. It can feel really terrible, like so utterly terrible, right? And there'll be all these stories that come bombard my mind. However, I do a safety check. And as long as my body is safe, I don't buy into those stories. I try not to invalidate it either. At the same time, I know they're not true in the least. So I don't have that fully reconciled yet. Okay, so in these moments, I'm simply going to be completely open with how I feel. I'm going to hide absolutely nothing. I'm so very tired of hiding, of trying to pretend I'm not anxious, of having this judgment about, again, brain freezing up. That's fine. That's one of the things I'm afraid of. Okay, what else am I afraid of? Let's do a fear purge. I'm going to say everything I'm afraid of. I'm going to do that, and then I'll see how it feels, right? Okay, let's see. Maybe it's this way. There we go. Fear purge time. All right. What am I afraid of? Saying the wrong things, stumbling on my words, blanking out mid-sentence. And the ironic thing is, my anxiety is the one to actually do this to me. It's not like I'm trying to freeze up. even though I am, because I'm leaning into it and challenging my social anxiety every step of the way. Because everything I want, right, is on the far side of this anxiety. Every single thing I want. So every single day, I'm going to keep leaning into it. And the strategy of this round is simply just to let everything completely out in the open, right? I'm not hiding anything. If I feel anxious, I'm going to say I'm anxious. If I feel good, I'm going to say I feel good. That's it. It's a simple exposure therapy exercise. And when I have extra time, it's not the right word. When I have, anyways, and reset. That's one of my tools. Scene. At the same time, I can talk about my work, I can talk about my ideas, and I will have a record, like a permanent record of it somewhere in the world. Should anything happen to me, people can look back on these videos and try to reconstruct my work. Okay. So that's another one of my goals of these videos. For this particular video, I want to talk about the structure of an immortal gym, an emotional strength training gym for emotional immortals. Okay, so let's draw. I'm trying out different symbols for the emotional immortal. But so far, maybe this. Okay. For this gym, the prerequisite is that you have to know you are an emotional immortal, not a physical immortal, right? We're not risking our physical health or safety, at least not for this gym. Everything done here is in physical safety. I'm accepting the freeze. The moment the freeze comes in, this is creating a protocol for the parts of me that comes online. I've noticed that when I try to hide the freezes, that's when it loops. When I'm trying to hide it, I'm trying to speak when my brain is literally frozen. Right now, I am dancing with an invisible force, at least invisible to. I don't know where that word is going for. Anyways, moving on, right? So we're dancing. I am dancing with this force most people call anxiety. And the hardest part about anxiety, at least on live videos or life in general, is the freeze. And I can't hide it. That's part of what loops it and makes it harder. Whenever there's a freeze, I will create a protocol of what I will do, and it will help me climb my way out of this hole that I'm in. And I'm in a very deep anxiety hole for pretty much my entire life. That's where I'm at. And the more I try, the harder the freeze kicks in, the more the anxiety locks in. So I have to use paradoxical intent oftentimes in order to get what I want in life. This has been my personal experience. So now, because I've had so much challenge, I also build many different ladders. Being completely open is one of them. This live video is another technique I'm using to open up my social brain, to stop hiding these things, to dissolve the hidden shadow stickiness of shame about myself. I can have shame. That's okay. I can feel terrible about myself. I'm just going to keep stating it over and over and over. And by doing that, I start to dissolve it in this light of awareness. See, even now, the moment I go for a word, something locks down and I simply lose it. That's exactly my experience right now in this moment. And I want to document it. Here's one of the flips I use. What if this is the last time I'm going to feel this experience? How would I want to document it if I want to write a novel from the experience of a person feeling this type of anxiety? How will I talk about it so the reader would understand, like, yes, the author has certainly been there. How can I describe the nuances of feeling small, feeling stuck? Like right now. See, I've created a protocol so I can simply acknowledge it the moment I feel it, and it starts looping me back out of it. The narrative, there's a narrative that gets me stuck, and the narrative is, I have nothing to say. Don't. It's almost it's. I hesitate to use this word, right? But it feels abusive. I hesitate to use that word because it's me. I'm doing this to myself. But it also feels like this abusive pattern that is in the world. That, of course, I would do this to myself because I have elements of the entire universe within me, you know? So I understand this fear and how it creates this narrative. And because of this narrative, it recreates the fear, so it loops and it solidifies and it hardens. That's why I do live videos. That's why I turn the light of consciousness on it. I turn the light of social consciousness on it, and I just keep broadcasting things that my shadow would rather keep hidden. And yet I know that when I speak them out loud, who cares? It is not a secret I need to keep. I'm not the only one to feel socially anxious. I'm not even the millionth or possibly the billionth people who've felt social anxiety. I'm not the only person who's frozen in place and not feel anything. To have my entire being feel like a ghost, like there's no personality here because of the entire anxiety has taken over my entire essence. But I know that's not true. I know I've been up here, been just wild and just like, whoa, that's me, you know? And so instead of trying to reach up here to become my highest self, yay! You know? That's unsustainable. The trick is actually to go into my basement and try to feel as terrible as possible. One is simply exposure therapy, to feel the emotion for as long as possible and just have it absorb back into my being. I'm adding social element to it and putting the light of, live broadcast on it. Freeze, acknowledge, breathe. And I'm giving myself the love that I never got. I'm here now. I can support myself the way I support anyone else. Isn't that a wild idea? I am a really good emotional support person. So I'm going to say that out loud, right? Oh, I said it. So now I'm going to challenge my subconscious to prove that I'm right. I know I'm really good at emotional support. I volunteered for the emotional crisis line, and I've done pretty well at it. For a year, I answered phones for hours at a time. And I know how to sit with a friend when they're going through really, really tough times. And I know how to just give them unconditional attention. And whatever judgments I have, I just keep them to myself. Because those judgments are only about me, not about them. What they need is my love and support, not judgment or how to do things better. So, okay. Here I am. I am the one down here. I feel frozen. I feel small. I feel nothing. That's the hardest part is I feel numb. My entire being is just numb. And that's the most frustrating part about this whole blank, you know? Anyways, okay. I'm feeling really warm. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. I suddenly feel this heat. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be on live video. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to hug myself. I'm going to be really gentle with myself. I love you. I love you. I love you. I am here for you. Cause there's nowhere I can't get anywhere. So you're stuck with me, sweetie. So we're in it together. I'm here now. No one was there for me when I was little. I was all alone. But I'm here now. I am here now. And look at all these tools that I'm building. And they're going to help so many people. They're going to give people so much clarity. And it's because I had to go down first. I had to go down here. This is why we're here. This is why we're here, Hector. If I didn't feel this, I wouldn't know how to build the tools that actually work. And if they didn't work, I would still be down here. And in a lot of ways, I still am. I'm working on writing, my writing trauma, and I'm working on decluttering. It's really hard. Part of brain, no, it isn't. It's really hard, and it will become easier. We are down here on purpose. I'm on live video on purpose. I don't have to be. I intentionally add the weight of live videos to activate my social brain, to keep on doing emotional strength training exercise, to power my way out of this hole. Okay, what will this gym look like? After doing these live videos for about 3 years, a little more, I think, here is what I call the box of liberation, and I stay within it while I'm broadcasting out into the world. I broadcast things that are universal to everyone, right? So I stay within these bounds. I do not hurt myself or others. That's a no-brainer. So myself, I don't really talk about it either, because then people start freaking out and wondering. Like, nope, I'm going to stay away from those topics. So I'm safe for myself and others. I do not give away informational security. That's just informational self-defense. Security. And I'm not physically loud or disruptive. Because I'm super loud and then my neighbor hears me and then, it could cause a cascade. Within these bounds, I call this my box of liberation. Within this box, I share absolutely everything that I don't want to share, but is absolutely human. This is just my human experience. And if you believe in reincarnation, it's probably not my first experience, not even the thousandth or millionth experience. So this is my box of liberation. I like following the rules, especially when they're karma rules. And I don't want the karmic repercussions. Secondly, I'm doing emotional strength training, which means at times I'm going to feel really, really terrible. Before I go into my depths, right, I need gear to keep myself safe. And for this, it means, right, it means the box of liberation, but also within this box, there are certain things that I need to do to maintain my body and the life I have. So these are the routines. So if somebody comes to me and wants to do emotional strength training, the first thing I need to know is, do they have a solid routine? When everything in their emotion is screaming at them, can they still get out of bed? Rest, fuel, clean, dress, exercise, stretch, and balance. Go to work, maintain their relationships. Can they do everything baseline? And can they control themselves to the point that they don't overreact? Right? They don't hurt themselves or others. They're not going to be wildly loud and disruptive wherever they are, because that's going to cause problems. And they're not going to give away informational security that would cause them harm. And they can do the daily routines that they need to do from, you know, let's go the other way. Let's say that you wake up to go to sleep. morning routine, evening routine, and then let's say you need to go to work, you still do that. Can you still do everything to maintain your daily life while you may be in an emotional free fall? You know, like me doing live video, intentionally triggering myself as much as possible. I still need to get out of bed, brush my teeth, eat healthy foods, sleep well. These are not negotiable. So if I know that they have these basics down, then they can enter the gym. What do we do in this gym? The goal is to become or realize that we truly are emotional immortals. That no matter what somebody says to us, we can't really get hurt. They're just words, they're just vibrations. The exceptions are physical threats. No physical threats. Let's just, be beyond that. Freeze response in the mid, blah, blah, blah. Acknowledging that right now. Okay, what do we do in emotional strength training gym? Here is what I was developing within the dojo just earlier. Okay? Well, what can we do? We can get attacked verbally. We can feel attacked, right? Let's say that's an insult or attacking our fundamental beliefs, something that we identify with. So we can either get attacked or we can get attracted or complimented. Those are two things that we can practice getting attacked, saying, "Oh, you're so stupid," and be like, "Okay." But the difference is we create an intentional container so you know that's what's happening. And then when you go out in the world, you get insulted. It's like, oh, this is exactly what it feels like when we were doing it in dojo. And now I know how to handle it. The other way is when we get complimented. How well do we get? How easily are we pulled towards somebody? So that is receiving, and we can also practice giving. Normally, we don't try to insult anybody. I don't, right? So I don't actually have any practice in doing that. But within a container where everybody agrees, I'm going to practice, try to insult somebody. Or I can practice trying to attract them. Attract? ATT. Again, both those things are kind of scary. I usually don't do either of those. That's interesting. Okay. Then, something else we can do is within a safe container, we can reveal something about ourselves we normally don't. Okay, let's get a little more space. And then what does that mean? It means we are being known. Somebody knowing us, and then we're building a connection. So this is what I have in my notes. However, at the very core, I need to know that the other person understands that they are an emotional immortal, and they take full responsibility for any emotional reaction that they may have. Because if I intentionally try to insult them, well, we take the responsibility for feeling insulted or not. And in the end, that feeling isn't our responsibility, but let's see, how was it phrased? We are accountable to it. So that's the tricky part. If I feel attacked, that's my responsibility. Okay. Um, that's kind of what I have. So let's draw this again, right? This is the structure of the emotional strength training gym. Oh, the other parts that we mentioned was that anywhere I get angry, it shows me that there is a belief that is being attacked, that my being has attached to certain beliefs. And there are no beliefs that are truly true. I am just a person. Even my name is not unique. Everything I've ever thought isn't unique. So any insult that I feel is just a reaction that anybody would have felt having those structure of beliefs. That is the path to liberation that I'm personally working on. So let's see. What can I do? So here is the challenge, right? I go to this dojo, but they don't have any instructions, so I don't know what to do. Here is the things that I am now building, right? These are the choices that I have, right? I can try to get insulted by somebody, like, come on, come at me, like, say anything, like, whatever. I can actually have somebody try to compliment me, try to pull me. That could be interesting. That was one of the things I got from this last session with the people there. Some people are really good at that. I'm not, so I don't usually think about that. So they can try to pull me, or they can try to attack me, and I try to see where I get angry, and then I can identify my unconscious beliefs through my emotional reactions. And then I can also practice trying to insult somebody or trying to attract somebody. Yay! Now I actually have something I can ask somebody into a dance with. That's what they call them. It's a dance. Something else I can do is reveal something about myself that feels sensitive and tender, but doesn't break the rules, of liberation, the box of liberation. It doesn't really give away my informational security. I do not harm myself or others, and I'm not loud and disruptive. And I know that they can handle themselves, and no matter how they feel, they will still be able to go about their day. They will still be able to get to work. Those kind of things. As long as I know that I don't have to worry about them, then we are both immortals. then we can just have fun. We can both test out each other's emotional vulnerabilities. We both own the responsibility for our own triggers and reactions. Now we can dance. Um. Oh, we can do role play. I didn't have that. Yeah. We can also practice a new way of being. Okay. I am excited about this. I can be an emotional free fall if I know I can count on my routines. Okay. Whew. And this is all emotional strength training gym. I see that that's plenty. Safe. I'm safe myself for myself and others. That is the box of liberation. That I don't talk about self-harm to myself or others. I don't talk about things that compromise my informational security. And I'm not loud and disruptive. Disruptive. Okay. These are the safety mechanisms in place. All right. I don't know. This is good for now. I think I'm going to pause it here. My brain is still in freeze mode. So, anyways, it doesn't matter. I've done what I need to do. Do I want to stay on the video for a little longer to process my emotions? My emotion says yes. Okay, let's stay on here for a little longer. I don't really expect people to watch this, so. Um, but if they do, aw. Okay, so here is what I'm developing. I need to learn to soften into the pain. The theme is going to be teddy bear defense, right? I'm going to be soft and fluffy, but utterly impenetrable. Nobody can just roll right over me. But I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to be stabby with my words, you know? I'm not going to run away either. I'm just going to walk in like a bear. I'm not going to harm anyone. They try to insult me and be like, okay, soft and fluffy, right? Um, yeah, true power is about how gentle I can be. That's the true masculinity. I can feel the rightness of that. The immature masculine in me believes that I need to be hard. I need to maintain my boundaries. Don't you dare, try to control me. But that is my child self. And that's my child emotion saying, Never again, will I be controlled, looked down on, and all these patterns. I realize I'm just mirroring the patterns that were reflected into me. They're not even good patterns. I get annoyed when they get used on me. So now I'm going to let them go because I realized that the source of me being aggressive isn't me needing to be aggressive. It's because I feel scared. And because I feel scared, I'm like the little kitten that's just like, stay away, I'm gonna it's like I'm not a kitten anymore. Nobody can really harm me. I'm the biggest cat in town. Meow. So I want to be really gentle. That is the true masculinity. How gentle can I be? How slow and gentle can I be? I imagine these wild creatures, and we go to pet one of them. It's one of these Facebook groups about like petting wild animals. And what are we afraid of? Even a deer could like bite you. A horse could kick you. What we're afraid of is them hurting us out of fear. Or an animal that's aggressive, even monkeys or lions or but then I see videos there are people who know how to work with lions. They're just cuddling up with them and the lion is has a person's hand in its mouth, but it's not biting down because it knows that that's a person, that they don't actually want to hurt them. So even animals know how to not hurt somebody. And the only reason I ever am aggressive is I feel hurt first. I finally found that out. I found out why I kept lashing out at people, why I judged them, because I don't feel safe. And that's from a childhood trauma language programming that I can now shift to a different reality through emotional strength training, through role play, I'm revealing absolutely everything. That I feel anxious, I freeze, I get this terrible feeling when I try to do something like organize my clutter and it creates an emotion and then I run away. Right? I'm revealing. So now I am allowing the world to know me and I can now build connections. All grounded on this simple notion that we are emotional immortals. That is what keeps me safe. No matter how it feels emotionally, don't buy in those stories. We are immortal emotionally, not physically, but emotionally. So we don't overreact, we don't do catastrophic things. We still maintain our bodies. We are not loud and disruptive. We don't hurt ourselves or others. We don't give away information or security. And we still maintain our life routines. And within that frame, we're solid. And then we can go deep and we can do shadow work to find our hidden beliefs by having somebody try to attack us and see where we get angry. And that's where we know where the beliefs are. And once we've cleared them all, we become a full emotional immortal. But that's for later. Okay. Oh, clearing emotional landmines. Ooh, that's a fun one. Clearing emotional landmines. Things that blow us up and everyone around us. All right. Ooh, and then we have the sweeper. Beep, beep, beep. All right. If you really want to do it, you can do this all on live video. That's fun. Up the stakes a little bit. Hmm. All right, I think that's what I have for now. Okay, let me check in. Emotions. Are there anything more? I feel a lot more clearer. A lot more clear than I was 10 minutes ago. What else? What other sticky things can I reveal? Can I disclose and not keep hidden? I've already said I feel anxious. Attraction. I feel insecure, so I'm vulnerable to flattery. I'm vulnerable to compliments and to chasing that approval. Okay. That's one of the things I found from this last dojo session. Hmm. I feel really clear right now. Part of me wants to be magnanimous and showy, but that part always is always there. I'm gonna acknowledge that part. The part that wants to be a star, wants to be an entertainer. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to be light. Part of me that wants to be entertaining, social mastery. So I want to reveal my desires. That's hard. That's one of the hard things. Desires, fears, angers. Things that make me angry or hurt. Childhood trauma. And how do I talk about that without dishonoring the people in my childhood? Hmm. Hmm. It doesn't really want to go into that right now. Okay. Anything else? Hmm. Hmm. I think I'm good. All right. In summary, I am creating an emotional strength training gym for emotional immortals. To even walk through the door, you need to understand this basic principle that you are an emotional immortal and we take 100% responsibility for our own emotional reaction. So we are never victims. However, we can play a victim and feel what it feels like to attack somebody as a victim, and vice versa, and being attacked by a victim, saying that they are a victim, that you victimize them. That's two different directions of attack. Okay. To even enter this gym, you need to sign this waiver that you understand that you are an emotional immortal and you take 100% responsibility for your own emotional reactions. Okay? We understand the box of liberation, which means we don't talk about hurting ourselves or others. We're not loud and disruptive, and we don't give away information or security. And we have a solid daily routine, and we can maintain that routine even if we feel terrible by the emotional reactions that we are finding. So we don't do anything drastic. We still wake up in the morning, we still eat healthy, rest, fuel, clean, dress, exercise, stretch, and balance. That's for our bodies. We still go to work, make enough money. We don't spend all the money really quickly. And so if people can trust us to be able to maintain our lives, whether or not we have big emotions, then we can start diving in and doing training exercises and have somebody try to attack us, have somebody try to compliment us or attract us. We can try to insult someone in we create a container first saying I'm going to do this, and then we try to do it. And then we can also try to attract somebody. We can also do role play, become a different character, train to be a different character. We can reveal things about ourselves that we normally don't. We can be known, and we can build connections. All right. And we can clear emotional landmines, which is kind of what we're doing up here. That is the emotional strength training gym. Cool. All right. I love you all. Mm. And as always, not as always. Okay. Reset. I love you all. For me, this is my definition of love. Love is the desire for that which I love to survive and thrive. That's it. Ownership has nothing to do with it. If I love a car, I want it to survive and thrive. If I love a person, I want them to survive and thrive. That is all. So I love you all. I hope you all survive, and I hope you thrive. Till next time. Meow.